Hello everybody. Welcome to a series of videos. There will be 8 videos in this series entitled From Pioneer to Rugby to Muddy Pond. I recorded this series of videos on the 31st of August 2019. It's a Saturday, and to set the videos up, I'm starting at the post office in Pioneer, and I pulled up to the post office to get their logo. So it's Pioneer, what is that, 37, trying to get a zip code, I think it's 3784 or something like that. Anyway, you can see it. So we're starting out from Pioneer. We'll be turning right on Highway 63. We'll go through Huntsville. We're on Highway 63. Saturday, the 31st of August, 2019. In this area, we're near the Big South Fork. As we travel up this road, I don't know exactly where the boundaries began for the Big South Fork, but it is in this area. It's kind of sparsely populated through this area, and as you will see, you'll see mainly forest in the first portion of this video in the scenery. It's a beautiful drive. If you've never driven from Caryville to Huntsville, Oneida. Of course, we don't go through Oneida. If we were going to the Big South Fork, I think we would go more up in that area. But the only thing I can tell you that this is the Big South Fork area in and around Highway 63, Highway 52. The first stop that we're going to make is over in Rugby. It's a unique community with a lot of history. There's a lot of information about all of this area. You can do a simple Google search. I could give you links, but if you do a Google search, you can get all the information that you want on this area. So basically what I'm providing is a visual along with whatever research you do on the internet with Big South Fork, Rugby, and we'll end our videos at Muddy Pond, and I'll have a little more to say about that later on. It was a beautiful day for a road video. The approximate time when we left the Pioneer Post Office, I think it was around 9:30 in the morning. Most of the day we had the sun at our back. At times we are traveling directly into the sun, but as I have said before, the GoPro does a pretty good job of adjusting. But we have no control over the sun. The only thing that we have control over is the time we leave in our automobile. But I thought I would just mention that because at times we'll be going with the sun at our rear, and then a lot of times we'll be going into the sun. Something happened on this series of videos, and there's going to be 8 videos in this series. Something that happened on this series of videos that's never happened before. I have my GoPro mounted on the window outside, and I don't have a way of monitoring the video. I can only check the video when I get back to the house and go into my computer room. And I think on video number 7, something happened that has never happened to me before. The lens, I've got the GoPro setting in a waterproof case, and a bug splattered on the lens up in the corner. And that's the first time that's ever happened. Usually, a windshield will capture an insect, but this one landed on my lens cover. So in video 7 and video 8, I think that's correct. I'm trying to remember. But I'm going to let that video run because the only thing that it did, it blurred up in the way, as you look at the video, up in the left-hand corner is kind of blurred. And you'll see, as soon as the insect hits the lens, you'll see it. You can't tell what kind of insect it was. You only know that it hit the lens because you can see it splatter. But the visuals to the right-hand side are clear. There's just a portion on the left-hand side up into the top left-hand corner that's blurred because of that insect strike. The first community that we'll go through, we're not going to stop there, is Huntsville on Highway 63. Huntsville happens to be the birthplace of Howard Baker, who was a famous senator. That's his home. And as you go through Huntsville, you can tell that somebody had been looking out for the little city of Huntsville because it is beautifully groomed. They have an outdoor pool. I imagine that it's a public pool. I had never seen it before, and when we went by, I happened to notice it. But I'll mention it. I don't know if it's on this video. I don't know where this video ends. When you do 8 videos, when you do a road video that's so long that it takes 8 videos to capture it, as I'm going down through here, I'm thinking, well, I need something to fill up the audio track, and I know that I'm going to have to talk for 3.5 hours at least. And before I start, I don't plan any of this because it's the visuals, and as we go down through here, I'm looking on both sides. I have it pulled up into a fairly large screen. I'm not looking at it on a small editor screen this time. So I have a fairly decent view of, like this sign coming up 25 miles per hour. And that brings up a point. People have mentioned that it looks like I'm going down the road 1,000,000 miles an hour. And what it is it's an optical illusion because I've mentioned this before. The GoPro camera uses a fisheye lens because all the settings are electronic. It has no physical settings. And it looks like you're going real fast because of the perspective. But trust me, I'm trying to go along the speed limit. Usually I try to even go below the speed limit until it looks like I'm going by slower than what I am. But I have started to get away from that, and the reason I have, I'm out doing videos, but people on this highway going somewhere, they don't want to be held up in traffic by some dude driving down the highway with a camera stuck on his car. So I try to more or less stay with the traffic now, because I don't want to irritate anyone out here on the highway. They have no interest in what I'm doing. The only people that have any interest in it is me and you all that like to watch these videos. So I've got that out of the way. I'm not going to mention that anymore. As we continue on Highway 63, this Blue Yeti microphone that I'm using has a mic switch on it, so I just turned it off for a second or two. It never ceases to amaze me the amount of quality that you can get off of a little camera like a GoPro. I'm using a Hero 3 Black that I've had for several years, so it's an old one. I've dropped it a few times. It has some scars, some battle scars, but it has the same quality that it had when I purchased it. I have my setting set on 1080p wide, super wide. Now I'm going to say things that you've heard me say before, but I've got over 3 hours to fill with jabbering, so I'll probably repeat myself. I know most of you all are just interested in the scenery. That's what the on and off switch is for. And I ceased to put music on these in the background quite a while back. But on the GoPro, on the 1080p setting, there's 1920 times 1080p, and you can set it on wide, medium, or narrow. And if you set it on narrow, you don't get the panoramic view that you're getting now on this video. And then it has a separate setting, it's called Super, which gives you more of a panoramic view. But when you use the panoramic view, the Super, when you go by a telephone pole, it has a tendency to bend when it gets caught by the fisheye. And right here comes a telephone pole. The closer you are to the pole, the more the bend. See, that's not really bad. So on the road videos, I always use the Super. For a while, I was using just the wide setting, but I was missing some scenery that I wanted to get, so then I started using the wide setting. Our first stop will be Rugby. Rugby is a unique community, and there's a lot of information on a Google search. Just put Rugby in there and it'll tell you, you can read about Rugby. The history of Rugby is really worth reading. How those people came in there from England and settled, and some of the things that happened to them. Years ago, one winter, Pat and I went over to Rugby. We went over to the graveyard, and there's a lot of graves over there that coincide with some of the dates that you'll read about if you study the history of Rugby. And while we were at Rugby, a Corvette club from Crossville came in there. I don't know how many Corvettes came in there, and I'm not even going to guess at the amount. Beautiful automobiles. I mean, absolutely beautiful. And I captured that. And that's one of those things that just happened. I had no idea that that Corvette club had chosen Rugby for one of their destinations for the 31st of August 2019. My wife was in one of the shops, and she overheard someone in one of the shops say, "Well, there comes the Corvette Club." So evidently, they had made arrangements at one of the restaurants there in Rugby. And you'll notice when we get to that video, which occurs, I think, in video 5 or 6, I can't remember. But on the restaurant, they're flying the Union Jack, or the British flag, because that community, just go out and do a Google search and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. It's hard to see some of the houses. We go down some of the streets. The streets are not paved, but the foliage is so thick this year that you can only get a glimpse of a small portion. I need to come over here in the wintertime. I did a video a long time ago. This one's getting ready to end. Stay tuned for video 2 of 8.